And welcome to Weather and Ag in Focus, 106 in the afternoon. That's the sound of thunder. We had our first claps of thunder last night. That was nice. It was nice to hear. That's a sign of spring. And we got more thunderstorms on radar right now. Yeah, where are they stretching at?
Oh, they're stretching to the left.
You want to name
They're
some
going
cities
from,
there, genius?
say some showers down by Evansville and Alexandria over in Minnesota, stretching up I-94 through Fergus Falls, Rothsay, just south of Barnesville, just south of Fargo, extending over into Castleton, north of Valley City, and up towards Carrington. Some little line of some embedded thunderstorms.
Some of those might have some small hail within them.
A little bit of pea-sized hail, probably. Some gusty winds around a couple of them.
That's springtime, finally.
Gotta love it.
Yeah. Temperatures in the 60s out there, and we'll stay in the 60s this afternoon and warm things up to near 70 by Thursday. But Thursday, the pick day of the week, with quite a bit more sunshine than we've had over the last few days. Bridgette, how much rain did you get out where you're at?
Just this morning. It was actually dry when I got on air just after 7 o'clock with some of our shows, and I didn't see anything yet, but shortly thereafter got about 0.3 of an inch. So the half-inch puddles are full again because there was just enough rain in a short amount of time to fill them all back up.
Yeah, I'm going to check my gauge right now.
We picked up about 0.2 here around the FM area, so not a lot, but just wet enough to keep the farmers out of the field, unfortunately, again, for another day.
Yeah.
Looks like I got 0.56 for the day in Grand Forks and 0.71 over the event, so including yesterday.
Yeah, that's where the steadier rain has kind of set up shop today, is along and north of that Highway 2 corridor. South of that, again, we're starting to see these embedded showers and thunder showers redevelop. Nothing widespread, but could you get a brief downpour if you get caught under one of these? If you look south on 29 now, you can see the darkening of the clouds. That's nothing.
Man,
nothing severe. Just
that sight.
Yeah,
looking off in the dark, into the darkness of spring.
Yeah, so
beautiful.
It's that time of the year. Gotta love it. Gotta love it.
Not white, can't see across the street. The air is hurting your face. The hail might, if there's any hail in there, but
So
ever
far,
get hit with hail before?
No.
Not intentionally. I'm smart enough to go indoors.
Yeah. Well,
we're at the
not
golf.
talking about walking into a hailstorm, but if you've ever gotten caught in one.
We got caught in one out at the golf course, but they had shelter out there we could take, Yeah, that wasn't fun.
I think pea-sized hail is really the only hail that I've been in, like physically.
No gorilla hail?
That's probably
no gorilla hail.
No gorilla hail?
What's a gorilla hail?
Yeah.
Bridgette, thoughts?
I don't think you want to go into anything larger than pea-size hail for the moment. Let's just say that's probably the case.
I just wonder what it would feel like getting pelted with nickels.
No, I don't think you do, actually.
I do, though.
I think that might hurt a lot. So I had a listener question yesterday, something about can a hurricane cross the equator? What do you got over there, Bueller?
Dean, what are you? I'm not really a hurricane person. I don't think that it's possible for that to happen, though.
No, that's a good question. Who sent that in? Very good question.
Yeah, that was a listener question I got yesterday.
Huh.
I don't really think you get hurricanes to form.
You're not getting hurricanes to form around the equator anyway. No. But the northern hemisphere, everything's clockwise and counterclockwise in the southern hemisphere. So, yeah, that might be a little. I think you'd redefine the laws of physics if I'm not mistaken.
I'm pretty sure the equator is an area of downward movement in the atmosphere. If I'm recalling that correctly, you don't get rising motions over the equator.
Look at all those meteorology classes coming back in handy, you guys. Nice work.
Yes, indeed. Thank you, Google.
That's right.
Well, we got some fun things coming up on the show today. If you want to join in on our conversation at any point, feel free to give us a call on the Red Wing Shoes shoe line. That's 701-293-9000. Emails to the program are weatherorag@flagfamily.com. And as well, those live comment boxes you can always utilize on Facebook and YouTube Live. And I think we're getting a call right now. Hi there, caller. What's your name?
My name is Jeff.
Jeff, what do you got for us today?
I heard you talking about hurricanes, but what about tornadoes? So, I mean, you just hear about them in the United States. Is there tornadoes in other parts of the world?
Yes, there are. Yep. There are tornadoes in other parts of the world. They are just most common in North America, specifically the United States.
And then, so my next question, how does a tornado, does it typically start up in the sky and then it comes down or something?
It varies.
It varies. It can be surface formed and reached up to the clouds. It can also be from the cloud reaching down to the ground. So you can get it both ways. Yeah,
you can get it both ways, and they rotate both ways as well, both counterclockwise and clockwise.
Yeah, I remember missing that trivia question.
Right?
You almost had it, Jeff.
But anyway, so what if like they always start small and like a tornado can be, I mean, sometimes they're only like 10 or 15 or 20 feet wide on the ground, and sometimes they can be a quarter mile wide on the ground, right?
That's exactly. And it all depends on kind of your conditions aloft. So a good example was the conditions yesterday in Oklahoma, southern Kansas were prime for large-scale tornadoes. And how did we know that in advance? Because the conditions aloft, a lot of wind shear, and then at the surface, everything was coming together as well, right at the right time. So you can really tell your conditions aloft. You need wind shear, and the stronger wind shear you have, and what that is winds coming different directions at different altitudes. So the stronger your wind shear is, the larger your tornado will be. Opposed to if you got just one of those skinny rope tornadoes, your wind shear probably not as strong.
Got it. So if I had an idea of how to stop a tornado before it starts doing damage, like when it's really small, who would I talk to?
That's called HARP. That would be HARP.
And we're not allowed to talk about that, Jeff, because last time I had my clearance revoked.
Oh.
Jeff.
Well,
all right.
Hey, Jeff, hey, appreciate the phone call.
Thank you for calling. Appreciate it. People are going to start taking you seriously.
Oh, man, guys, this is called joking.
Well, just the last part.
The last part about HARP.
Oh, man. Yeah, you didn't really get your clearance revoked. You still have it.
Oh, no, I had it revoked, but they gave it back.
Oh, okay. All right. So, Bridgette, I want to cover, because there's got to be a joke laid in here. And if there's not, we'll find one on one of our ag topics today.
Oh, God.
Why don't female crickets chirp?
It's because the men never stop talking. So
That's wildly inappropriate.
See, now you got to the joke before I did. Why?
Okay.
Yeah, why is that?
Okay, so reality is they don't have the body parts to do it. Males are the only ones, because there is a sound-producing structure that's actually on their little wings. But you didn't realize that, but crickets do have little wings, to be honest. And the female has incredibly good hearing. She can distinguish between the species of crickets that are out there, and she knows which one and which guy is calling specifically to her. And she can zero in on that, even if they're hiding in the tall grass or in cracks and rocks, to stay away from predators. So that probably makes sense why when you have that chirping cricket in your house, it's so hard to find them when they're hiding. Now, it also will stop chirping when you start walking towards the cricket, because they can feel the vibrations of your footsteps. Surprisingly, crickets are the only ones that make their noise at dusk, whereas grasshoppers, they do their song and dance, you might say, during the day. And so we probably don't even notice the grasshoppers as they blend in with all the other sounds of our day. And this isn't the loudest thing that's going on. There's the whole cicada explosion.
Oh, that'll be fun this
across
summer.
17 states.
Yep.
Already starting with some of that emergence. They're starting to emerge in states all the way from Maryland to Iowa, the Northeast, Mid-Atlantic states, all the way down to Alabama, over to Georgia. So there's quite a large area that's being covered. If you didn't realize what was going on, the cicadas, there's actually two broods of them. One is every 13-year emergence, and the other is an every 17-year emergence. What's wild is that they're happening at the same time, and it's the first time since that's happened in 221 years. The last time both broods of cicadas emerged, Thomas Jefferson was the president. So
Wow.
imagine that. They're a little confused about the things that have changed in this much time.
Now, and I think we touched on this before, just the other week. They can do damage to crops, correct?
They can, but they're not a prominent problem. They mostly stay underground. They'll feed on plant roots, etc. Now, maybe that's because we don't see cicadas here. The closest they've emerged is Iowa, but we're not seeing that damage. I don't have farmers calling saying, what am I going to do with these cicadas in my field? We're more concerned about a number of other pests, both above and below ground. So the cicadas may do some damage, but we haven't seen it. And right now, they are loud enough when you get them together in the situation that we're in. And first of all, there can be 1.5 million of them per acre. And remember, an acre is the size of a football field. And they can hit 110 decibels, which is the same as a jackhammer.
They are loud.
Cool.
And it's at high
That's
pitch,
what you
too.
need.
Oof.
Yeah, that's exactly what you want hanging around outside your windows.
Well, I learned. I know you could tell the temperature of what the temperature is outside by the number of chirps a cricket makes. But I didn't know they did it with their wings. I did not know that. And it's a mating
That's right.
and it's a mating call for them as well.
It is, and I didn't even realize grasshoppers made noise. I thought they were just super annoying and fed on everything they could get their little choppers on. So that's right there. Okay, but the person who's not just going to make noise for the making noise, that's going to be our guest today. That's Shawn Kasprick. He's with the JR Simplot company. He's in Northeast North Dakota. Hopefully, we've got Shawn holding in the wings. Looking forward to visiting with him very, very soon. So everyone, stay tuned. We'll catch up with the American Ag Network and be back right after this. And welcome to Weather and Ag in Focus. So very glad that you are able to join us here today, and would love to hear what you've gotten for rainfall, especially if you have one of our Weather and Ag in Focus, WDAY rain gauges. They are from Productive Alternatives in Fergus Falls, Minnesota. They are a high quality rain gauge that we enjoy giving away to listeners, and they are definitely ones that are followed by the National Weather Service. So it's a great rain gauge to get accurate measurements. If any of you have one of our rain gauges, you can reach us on our Red Wing shoe line, 701-293-9000, and send us your information or email us weather or ag at flagfamily.com. Weather or ag at flagfamily.com. Now, I have the great pleasure of introducing one of our guests today, and that guest is joining us from the JR Simplot company. Although I have to ask, where are you today, Shawn? Because Shawn and I have known each other since college, and his travel schedule is worse than mine.
Is that possible?
Well, yeah,
Does the weather follow your
it
traveling?
goes around quite a bit. Today, just with all the weather, just sitting at home. Everybody's out in the field. They're busy and they don't really want to talk to me too much, so it's better to be available on the phone.
All right. Tell us what you do every day for JR Simplot, Shawn, and why would they want to talk to you? Because we're custom farming 20 acres of corn this year, so we're looking for all the agronomy advice you want to give. We'll be able to talk about that today. Yeah.
Gotcha. So I work for our proprietary brand, our private label brand called Invictus. So I kind of do a train the trainer type of a scenario where I'm talking about our products, and me specifically, I talk about the nutritionals, the biostimulants, and the biological side of our products, and I go train our crop advisors and our salesmen and our customers on the products, how to use them, when to use them, and what benefits they'll see from that.
Okay, hold on. You said a lot of words there that people don't know what they are, so we're going to have to back up before we even get to the history of JR Simplot. I just want to point out that Shawn was one of those super studious guys in my crop and mean science classes, so he advanced far above me. That's why he gets to do some of the cool things that he does. I literally remember Shawn studying. I didn't say I did, but Shawn did.
Well,
So,
we've done
Shawn,
a lot.
let's go.
There's been a lot of things together.
There has. Oh, and we'll get to your giant pumpkins yet later too. So, Shawn, nutritionals and biostimulants, can you define those for those who are listening and might not know?
So the nutritionals would be your, any of your NPK nutritional needs. Some of it is just straight fertilizers, but anything beyond straight fertilizers, if we get into foliar feeding, any of the micronutrients, some of the specialty needs, if you need something in an emergency, you've got a tissue sample that calls for different nutrition, what we can do to supply that crop for that year. So that's pretty much any of the nutritional side of things. The biostimulants would go into anything else that'll help boost the plant growth, but not necessarily nutritional based or anything. It might be seaweeds, could be some of the humic acids. There's a number of different biostimulants that are out there on the market.
Okay, so that's just a couple of the things that you guys are working with, but Simplot has a far greater history and background. Do you want to talk a little bit about the Simplot company overall? And it's not necessarily native to North Dakota, but does a lot of business over here.
Yeah, so Simplot was started back in the 40s. Our founder, Jack Simplot, JR Simplot, he was originally born in Iowa, but they moved out to Idaho, and he started actually farming in the pigs, working with pigs, and they would feed them potato scraps and the potato peelings. Well, it kind of evolved from there. Well, if I'm going to feed them potato peelings, I might as well grow my own potatoes. So he turned into growing potatoes. Well, when fertilizer came around, he wanted to grow more potatoes, so he wanted that fertilizer, and he just kind of kept backspacing that. So he started his own fertilizer company. But during that time frame, he really got his start from during the World War II with all of the the dehydrated potatoes, the dehydrated onions that were making its way over to through the war efforts for the military and supplying the government or in the war with the dehydrated onions and potatoes during that market. And that's where Simplot basically got its foundation.
And Shawn, do you guys deal mainly with potatoes, or is there other entities that you're into?
Oh, there's a lot of them. Most everybody knows Simplot from the potato side of things. But avocados and guacamole, there's a lot of different fruits and vegetables that are grown. A lot of them out in the Pacific Northwest, California. Overseas, you get out into Australia and some of our overseas functions. We start dealing with onions, and there's a whole bunch of different processing that goes on outside the U.S. Like I said, Australia and Tasmania was the one that comes to mind, but India, Argentina, of course, up in Canada, a number of different countries around the world.
And how long have you been in North Dakota, and what made you expand up here?
Well, Simplot had purchased a company called Northland Chemicals back in the late 70s, and that's where Simplot got its start here in the Red River Valley. So that included the locations here in Grafton, Hoople, East Grand Forks. I think there was a couple others that were included into there, but that was before I started with them. So
You at that point in time, you weren't even thinking about growing giant pumpkins yet, Shawn.
no,
In the late
not a
70s,
bit.
we weren't prepared for that.
Nope.
Okay. So with all that information, like you said, you talked about the biostimulants, the things that you guys do with Simplot, the potatoes. I know you do a lot of work with sugar beets and other specialties. What has been your route? What have you done through your career at Simplot? And I want to ask that before we get to the bottom of the hour when we have a little bit of a break, because after we come back, I have lots of questions about food processing too, and the way Simplot has its hands in it. But how'd you get to where you're at with the agronomy side of business?
Well, as we went through college together, it was all in crops and weeds and soils, and started that side of things. Simplot was looking for an intern, so I started in my career through Simplot through their interning at the location here up in Grafton. And shortly thereafter, precision ag kind of became the big focus. So I jumped in on the precision ag side because I understood the computers and kind of worked well with the computers. And so I started the computer side of it, working with the precision ag, increasing what we do and the understanding of how, because precision ag is just agronomy on a different scale. This part of the field is different than that part of the field, and how do we fertilize this part different from that part? Very simple agronomy. Just using the computers to help us. From there,
Okay.
more and more agronomy needs came up, and of course, my background lent into that very well. So after we built this precision ag side of things, some of our own private label at the time called PHT, Plant Health Technologies, was within Simplot. So I kind of jumped in working with them as kind of their agronomist for this area. And in 2019/2020, Simplot purchased Pinnacle and the Invictus company along with it. And I just kind of expanded into the Invictus brand.
And it just continues to move forward from there. Okay, as I said, we approached it, it's 1:30, bottom of the hour. Shawn, don't go anywhere. We have more questions for you, because Simplot's not just about agronomy. There's a lot of other factors into this company as well, and we look forward to hearing more about them, because this area grows a lot of potatoes. So hold still. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Weather and Ag in Focus. And again, thank you for joining us. Much appreciated that you spend your time with us today, as well as any day on Monday through Friday here on Weather and Ag in Focus. A huge thank you to our Here We Grow sponsors. Two of the companies that are joining us as we custom farm 20 acres of soybean this year include the Steffes Group. They are local auctioneers. Hopefully this year we get to go to another auction sale with them. This time we might even be allowed to buy something. I'll take Justin with so he can wave at me across the lot and see what we take home for waving.
I'm buying a lawnmower.
Well, we'll see what kind of auction we get to.
Dean's buying it. He just doesn't know yet.
But before we go, we better talk to our friends at Dakota Bank, also one of our sponsors. They're probably going to want to approve us for a little bit of a line of credit before we even get to the auction sale. Never know what we might need. So keep your ears perked up over there at Dakota Bank. We might need a bunch. How's that sound?
I like it.
All right. All right, guest today, we are talking with Shawn Kasprick. Shawn's with JR Simplot Company, Invictus product line, and so much more. And so, Shawn, when I go to Grand Forks and I take Gateway Drive, there's a big factory there for Simplot. So, I know you're in agronomy, but can you tell us a little bit about your food processing and so forth?
Yeah, so Simplot's food processing has been going on for years. That was one of the main hubs or main divisions within Simplot. They process quite a few of them through that Grand Forks facility. They've got some number of them besides Grand Forks. There's one up in Portage La Prairie, Caldwell, Idaho, out in, I believe it's Moses Lake and Washington. And then they've got, of course, just started a new factory in Argentina and a couple other places around the world. They produce probably just over half, I believe is the last number that I know of, over half of all of McDonald's French fries are processed by Simplot. So that tells you it's a huge number. And it's actually one of the better quality fries out there. Is just, for a fast food restaurant, they've got one of the better quality standards that are out there in the industry. But Simplot, besides the McDonald's French fries, the Sonic Gems, they'll do some of the French fries for Carl's Jr. and Hardee's, Burger King. Locally, Texas Roadhouse, the steak fries are processed actually out of the Grand Forks plant here. So that's always a good one. So remember to eat your fries. We're always looking, eat your fries and at least order them if you're not going to eat them.
I remember that as calling on Simplot companies was if you were going to lunch, it didn't matter what you were having. You're like, I'll have the burritos and an order of fries, please, because you wanted to make sure to support the potato production with Simplot. You didn't have to eat them. You just had to order them.
Right. Absolutely.
So with all of that production that's going up at those plants, is it all North Dakota potatoes that are going in there, or are you bringing them in from the outside area? I mean, I'd be pretty proud to say that those are North Dakota potatoes processed right here in the state, as well as grown and going right off to McDonald's.
Most of them actually are. There's going to be some a little bit out of Minnesota that come through, but regionally, yes. I'd say the vast majority of them are all either North Dakota or Minnesota. There's some that'll be hauled in if they need some, but really it's all going to be coming from this region for sure. So that's one of our great tools. They will actually bring up sweet potato fries when they go down south. They'll bring some sweet potato fries from farther south. And so one of their production lines is to make sweet potatoes or the sweet potato fries. And who gets them, I'm not quite sure, different division, but either way, try and eat my sweet potato fries too.
So, let's tap your agronomist side of your brain for just a moment. What makes it so good for us to raise potatoes here in the valley? And normally, if I would think about them, I would think about irrigation, but we're really dry land. So what's working in our favor for our potatoes here in North Dakota?
Well, we've got a great soil. Our Lake Agassiz left us with a great soil base to be able to pull nutrition from. Our water holding capacity is phenomenal in our soils. During the spring and some of our rain events can be a little bit hard to take and hard to deal with, but we get through it. So that's probably our biggest takeaway from just our area is just a great water holding capacity, great nutritional base. So there's, of the inputs we have for potatoes, they're probably one of the, they don't take a lot necessarily from, in comparison to if you were irrigated, you kind of have to spoon feed them all the time because there's no base in that soil and that sand to continue that, to hold all of that nutrition. So you always have to spoon feed them, where we don't really have to here in the valley. But with our water holding capacity, that also becomes one of those. If it doesn't rain, we can't supply that extra water. So it can be kind of a feast and famine type of a concept. If we get adequate rainfall and everything works perfect, we get some phenomenal potatoes out there. But we can get more than enough rainfall and lose some of that production, or at least create some other disease. On the flip side, if we don't get enough rainfall, we just don't produce enough. So it can go both ways.
And Shawn, you deal with precision ag as well. Can you kind of explain exactly what that is and how a local farmer could use that?
Sure. So precision ag, like I mentioned earlier, is kind of a agronomy on a smaller scale. The simplest way to term it. Different parts of the field have different requirements. They have different production needs, production availability that they can do. So one part of the field may have a great fertility base, and so we don't need to put a lot of inputs into there. So, using the computer and the technology that we have, we're going to tell that machine not to apply the fertilizer if we don't need it. Other parts of the field, we need a lot more fertilizer to keep that production up, or a different fertilizer, so we can vary one fertilizer, say urea or a phosphorus product, to vary it and get very detailed in how much fertilizer goes out there. That's probably the easiest way to discuss that. You can get pretty detailed and pretty down to the wire, but that makes it really easy. If you're going to you've only got so much money for your crop inputs, and you want to maximize that ROI, your return on that investment. So putting the fertilizer where it belongs and not over applying anywhere or under applying, so you can maximize that yield, is going to be critical. And so that's what precision ag brings to the market for sure.
Shawn, I don't know if you'll be able to answer this for me or not, but up here, we do a bunch of potatoes. Farmers, are they, I guess in the food production side of it, is Simplot kind of an open market for potatoes, or is it specific contracts that farmers make with Simplot for selling their potatoes to them?
So for the potato market, it is a contract-based potato market for Simplot. Same thing would go with Cavendish and McCain and some of the competitors that are out there. They want to know how much you're going to grow, and you're going to guarantee them a certain number of hundredweight, some certain number of potatoes that you're going to be able to bring into them, and that's what the contract is going to be based on.
Right. I'm assuming it's probably based on a specific type of potato, or does kind of any potato fly at Simplot?
No, there are a couple of different potato varieties. The majority that's being used in the market is going to be the russet Burbanks, which grow better under irrigation. But russet Rangers, Umatillas, there's a couple of different varieties that are acceptable, and that'll depend on the market. Mm-hmm. But most of them are all based somewhere around the French fry market, of course. And that's going to be the key.
Right. And in terms of those contracts, can anybody just get a contract and start doing potato business with Simplot, or is it for shareholders, or are there a limited amount of contracts that can go out at all?
Well, I know that if somebody wanted to get involved with a Simplot contract, you'd get a hold of the fieldman for Simplot. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what their protocols are or what their requirements would be, but they require, a certain quality, certain number of potatoes, certain number of hundredweight of potatoes, certain number of tons of potatoes that are required to produce to them. And the quality has to be held up there, because I know there are some that if they're not going to hold the quality, or they're not able to hold the quality and the volume, they'll have to make some adjustments in their in their decisions and their practices.
Okay.
There's a couple of things here, though, that I wanted to touch on as well. One of them is I think Justin's just trying to get a contract for his garden potatoes that he wants to bring into the Simplot plant. So, Shawn, if you could let him know how to do that, that'd be awesome.
Great.
And I happen to know that Shawn is into raising giant pumpkins. So, Justin, here you go. Here's your chance to ask for any advice as you get ready to plant your giant pumpkin seeds.
All right. How do you do it? What's the magic trick?
Well, giant pumpkins are a specific variety. They're all of course, based off of the Atlantic giant pumpkins, but they're hybrids and varieties, and take up a lot of space. So my small little garden doesn't produce the largest of the giant pumpkins, but it's enough to have some fun. And I carve them up actually at the end of the year for as a jack-o'-lantern and display in my front yard, so the kids get a kick out of it.
Yeah, my wife wants to do that with. Hopefully, we can get a big pumpkin. She wants to put it in front of the house and carve into it. I thought that'd be fun. So we're trying it out. I've never
here's a
done
question
it
for
before.
all of you.
Yeah.
Here's a question for you. What is the largest? What is the current record for the giant pumpkin?
Oh, yeah, that's
Justin should know.
Yeah, we just
was it
had them on.
2750 or was it 2950? I thought it was 2750.
2750.
Yeah, that
Good
was
memory.
a big potato. I can't remember. It was
Pumpkin. That was
Pumpkin,
a
not
pumpkin, not
potato.
a potato.
Pumpkins, not potatoes.
He said potato.
That'd be a great big potato.
yeah, pumpkin. It was wow, what was his name? Something Ginger out of Anoka.
Ethan.
Ethan Ginger.
Mm-hmm.
I like the fact that you're all thinking about what your fall is already going to look like. Well, as I just messaged Dean, it is pouring rain outside my window, so I'm not even close to planting any of this stuff yet, you guys. Thanks.
You can go plant in it. Get
But-
a little muddy.
Yeah,
Plants might like it.
exactly. All right. So, Shawn, as you think about all the things that Simplot provides, what would you like to make sure people know how they can find you, whether as a company, maybe as an employment opportunity, because you're probably looking for bodies. So, what do you got for us? Where can they go find you?
Well, on the website at simplot.com, there's a career page to go ahead and look through that, and that is going to be the main gateway into looking at any of the job opportunities and availability of those opportunities within Simplot. You can at any point in time call any of us at Simplot or any of our Simplot locations. We're going to probably point you back to the website, but if there's any local availability, we'll be able to discuss that with you as well.
Shawn, I much appreciate you taking the time to visit with us about Simplot and all of the different things that they do here, not only in the Rubber Valley, but all over the U.S., actually. I know there's Simplot locations all the way down to Nebraska and further east as Ohio. Am I off?
Farther east.
Farther
east than
okay.
that. I took care of some of. We were out on the East Coast, just outside of the Delmarva Peninsula, so Seaford, Delaware,
fantastic.
and Pocomoke City.
Nationwide with JR Simplot Company. Well, thank you so much, folks. We'll be right back. We've got more weather to catch up on and just a few more headlines. Stay tuned.
And welcome back to Weather and Ag in Focus. Thanks for rejoining us. It is 1:52 on this afternoon. We've just had some thunder showers and some rain showers pass through the FM Metro. That is a part of a line of some showers and storms, just say north of Alexandria and Fergus Falls, north of Fargo, and then heading up towards the Devil's Lake area and eventually Grand Forks as well. We'll be running down the forecast coming up here in just a few more moments, but if you want to sneak in on the conversation here this last segment, give us a call on the Red Wing Shoes shoe line on 701-293-9000.
Do you guys know how wet and raining it is outside?
How wet and rainy is it, Bridgette?
People are looking for boats. Some of us may have to start hijacking things in order to get things done.
Busting out the eye patch. Where did that come from?
I actually had it from a product launch at one point in time in my previous career, but shouldn't you all keep an eye patch at your desk? Well, not quite. I do have a glass eye story about a kid who was in high school with me, but
oh my,
we'll save that one. That might happen in a different time.
That sounds interesting.
That reminds me, have you ever seen the Wheel of Fortune with the guy that had an eye patch? And the meme was, oh, this guy better ask for the letter I or else I'm turning this off.
All right. Oh, I just got a text message from our guest, Shawn, who was just on with us. Today is his 27th anniversary with Simplot. You could have mentioned that sooner, Shawn. We'd have had cake and everything.
Right.
Congratulations
Good deal
there, Shawn.
Yes. Nice work for him. Yes. Good job.
Let's hit on some ag topics, Bridge.
Okay, so here we go. We got a couple of things going on. Number one, we didn't talk about this yesterday with Chick-fil-A. They are now going to be doing something, or did I talk about Chick-fil-A yesterday?
No.
Better double check.
Let's
their
talk
antibiotics?
about it again if you did.
Chick-fil-A, they are now going to allow some antibiotics in their chickens starting this spring. The restaurant previously had a no antibiotics ever policy, but what they have decided to do is no antibiotics important to human medicine. And that's a big step for them. They want to be sure to use antibiotics on the chickens only if they or a surrounding animal becomes sick. Well, that's just good animal husbandry. You don't just randomly treat critters. You only do it when they're ill. Much like you don't just treat your kids with antibiotics either. You only do that when they're sick. And so those antibiotics that will be used for the chickens will only be used when they are not intended for human consumption, meaning the antibiotic is not intended for that. So congratulations to Chick-fil-A for using good ideas and sound practices when they're doing that. And then, we're raising corn this year. So one of the things that we're going to need to brush up on, and because Dean and I don't do math, this is going to fall to Justin, is our corn growing degree days. Why is that important? Well, knowing when we can keep track of them and what's going on, we can stage our corn, make better management decisions. And Lord knows there's plenty of management decisions to be made in our field this year. And the basic formula is you take the average between the high and the low of your soil temperatures, and then subtract 50 to get a base temperature. So if the high soil temp was 80, the low is 60, that gives us a base temperature of 50. And then base temperature, the 80 plus the 60, we find the average, then we minus 50 from that, and that would give us 20 growing degree days for that day and time. But that's how we can figure out how many growing degree days that we get per day in our cornfield. That'll probably be something we talk about as we get out to the field and continue to do our education on custom farming 20 acres of corn this year.
That whole thing confuses me. And I'm a math person.
Really?
I get the formula.
Soil temps?
But just the growing degree days mean that whole little thing just confuses me.
Well, sounds to me like we should have someone who can explain it better.
It's like cryptocurrency and Dean. He just doesn't get it, but he knows what it is.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like, I'll invest your money in it.
Yeah.
I'll invest your money in it, but not mine.
And I'll use your credit to buy fancy toys.
Perfect. It's a deal.
Sounds like a
You
date.
two are a match made in heaven.
Something like that.
Yeah, we're something.
Match made in cicadas.
He's louder than that many times. We can't get him to shut up. And let's take a look at the weather. We've got, as Justin said, the line of showers moving north of the Fargo area right now. Heading off to the north. That'll affect areas up around Grand Forks here within the hour. Other than that, the rest of the afternoon, for the most part, at least in the FM area, along and south of 94, should be mainly dry. Still can't rule a pop-up shower out of the equation, but highs today, mid-60s with those winds out of the southeast, about 15 to 30. The rain should come to an end tonight, and we'll be left with partly to mostly cloudy, mid-40s. And for Wednesday, we'll have a little sunshine. Not a whole lot, but enough to brew up some afternoon showers possible. Don't look for a lot, though. East-northeast winds 10 to 20, highs in the mid to upper 60s tomorrow, and then pick day of the week, probably Thursday. Looking nice, highs around 70. Now, Clipper system comes our way on Friday, bringing us a little bit of light rain. Right now, the Mother's Day weekend, we were hoping it would be dry both days, but we're getting some indications that Mother's Day we might have a few isolated showers, but it should be mild with highs in the 70s both Saturday and Sunday. So can't totally rule out. We were hoping to rule out rain on Mother's Day. We'd like it nice day for all the mothers out there, and at least temperature-wise it should be. But just keep that in the back of your mind. We might have a few isolated showers on Mother's Day.
Yeah, look at that. Show's already done.
Went by quick today.
They did go by quick. Right on. Well, we're back tomorrow, 1 to 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We appreciate you listening, all the questions and comments that were sent in.
What's coming up next?
I think somebody named Jay is coming on
Is
the
that the
radio.
number one show in the afternoon?
It's something.
Okay.
We'll find out. It's next.